I honestly don't even know how to begin to explain this. I don't know whether to believe it or think my friend was maybe having problems. I'm honestly not sure anymore. This whole month has been hell for us after what happened to Trevor. Trevor was your typical quiet kid. Nothing about him was weird to say the least. He just preferred to be alone and keep to himself. Honestly, I had no problem with him. He seemed kinda cool. He loved to draw and sketch cartoons. After seeing some of them myself, I would comment that he could be an artist someday. And he was a great student. Trevor was in our homeroom class in our freshman year. He and his family moved from the countryside and into a new town to start a fresh beginning after his dad got a new paying job. Trevor had an older brother who I met as well. His name was Dylan, though everybody called him Dill for short. He was a senior and couldn't always be there for Trevor, but I could tell the two of them were very close. But like I said, Trevor was alone and sometimes wouldn't say anything when somebody talked about him. Even when Galvin started joking with Trevor. He was one of my close friends, but I will admit, he's an asshole. He would misbehave in class, talk over teachers, curse at students. I mean, he has good qualities too. He's funny, loyal, and willing to lend a hand. But Galvin has this mean way of joking. It seemed more like he was insulting others. However, he always would tell them to lighten up, I was just joking with you. But sometimes, it seemed to me that the person he was making fun of was the joke, and he saw Trevor as his next target. It started small. He would comment on Trevor's choice of clothes, how pale his natural skin is, all that shit. He would turn his desk around just so he could look at Trevor straight in the eyes when he started. Trevor would just look down and be silent, never saying a word. I and our group of friends would have to motion to him to turn around as Mrs. Bree started our English lesson for the day. He would see Trevor's face, smile, and nudge him saying, "Hey, don't take it to heart, man, it's just a joke, lighten up," then turn back to us for the remainder of the class. Then it got a little personal. You see, Galvin would pick someone in our classroom and joke mostly about themselves and their personal lives. I never knew why he did that. I think it's because he barely got in trouble back at home, and teachers didn't give a shit as long as you got good grades and such. And Galvin did, and he was always saying he was just kidding, and most people found it funny, so I think that's why nobody ever did anything when he started talking to Trevor. The things he would say to Trevor, for example, was ask about his life in the country. Trevor and his family used to live on a horse farm. Galvin would joke about how he basically had to be covered in horse shit all day, and even if he left, the smell would never leave him. Or how Trevor could be so pale if he worked on a farm, basically calling him lazy. I think it really got to Trevor, because of what happened a month ago. I wasn't there at school that day. I had a doctor's appointment because the flu was going around and I caught it, so I had to stay home. I remember laying in bed, groaning in annoyance as I grabbed another tissue, when my phone pinged with a text. It was Cheryl, and we never called her that though. Our friend group nicknamed her Cherry. Usually when she would text me, we would talk for hours about school, life at home, what stupid stuff our friends were doing. I will admit, I do have a crush on her, so I got a little excited despite my sickness and picked up my phone to see what she had texted. The words that she texted will forever be placed in my mind. A chill ran down my spine, and I could remember the internal dread in my stomach. There was a shooting at school. Trevor's dead. There are police cars everywhere. Trevor's gone. He's gone, man. From what I gathered from my friends, during a lesson, Trevor was acting off. When the teacher asked him to answer a question, he remained silent, just started staring at his desk. That's when Galvin commented, "I guess Farmbot here don't know the basics of English, huh? Makes sense." Some students scoffed, others chuckled, but mostly, our classmates stared at him. One of our classmates nudged him, whispering, "Dick move, Galvin." But Galvin just said, again, that it was just a joke. That's when the horror of the day came. Trevor stared at Galvin for a moment, slowly stood up, making the rest of the students and the teacher look at him as he stood silently for a moment. That's when he pulled out the rifle. The police say he must have gotten it from his dad's safe. His family keeps some guns in the house, mostly for hunting and some for protection. Nobody knew how the hell he was able to bring the whole rifle to school. My dad said he must have had a gym bag to put it in, which makes sense because we have gym class in third period, and our coach gave us duffel bags to put our clothes, water bottles, phones, and other stuff in. It was the perfect length for a rifle. You would think that's when he would start shooting at others. Maybe you think the police saw him about to attack another one and shot him dead. Or maybe he did shoot other students and turned the gun on himself like many other shooter cases. But no, he never did. He never turned the gun on our classmates, or the teacher, or even Galvin. Instead, he put it below his jaw, stared straight ahead, and before anybody could stop him, he pulled the trigger. It was one of the most horrible things that happened in our school. That whole month was hell, but mostly on Galvin. I know I said he's a jerk, but I don't think he meant for this to happen. How do I know? Galvin hasn't been the same since. He's more quiet, looks more tired, and barely speaks. He never eats lunch at school like normal. I think he believes it's his fault. But Trevor's parents did say that he was struggling from depression and took medication for it. However, Dill took it the hardest. Galvin took a week off of school because of the trauma of it all. He was there when it happened, and he was sitting 2 seats from him when Trevor pulled the gun on himself. Some of the blood had even gotten on Galvin. Cherry said Galvin looked blank, numb, in shock. He just sat there while everybody cried and screamed as Trevor's limp body fell to the floor. When Galvin returned, Dill snapped at him. He kept screaming and punching Galvin, saying, "You killed him, you bastard! My brother is dead! What did he ever do to you? Why? Just why?" Galvin said nothing as some students and the teacher tried to restrain Dill. To be honest, I don't fault Dill for his reaction. That was his baby brother, and he wanted to take it out on the person that insulted Trevor every single day, whether it was intentional or not. After the news, I just kind of strayed away from Galvin. Not because I hated him or anything, but because of the circumstances of Trevor's death. It was a tragic end for Trevor, whatever was going through his head. I think about why he decided to end his life that day at school. Did he snap? Did Galvin's comment break something in him? Or was everything else that had to happen in his life just take its toll, coming to a head in a bloody end? Why at school? Why there? Was it because that's where all of his problems began? The sad part is I'll never get an answer. The reason why he shot himself at school will be a mystery. But that's not the reason I decided to tell this story. The reason why is Galvin is experiencing something odd. I can't even put the right words in to explain it, but I'll try. It started a week after Trevor's death. We couldn't use our original room since that's where he died, and most of the kids didn't want to be in a room where a student killed himself. I remember the room being so quiet, and everyone was listening to our teacher. Some kids were missing, maybe still coping after everything had happened, but Galvin was there. Even though he wanted to stay home, his parents didn't care, and sent him off to school because he needed the education. I remember seeing him fidget a little. He was barely paying attention, not because he was talking to others and laughing as usual, but because he was acting nervous, I think. He kept looking to his side or behind him with wide eyes, like he was looking for something or someone. That's when I noticed Galvin turn to look at the left corner of the room, and I've never seen someone's face grow incredibly pale in just a matter of seconds. His mouth was open in a stupor, just staring at the corner. I turned to see what he was looking at, but there was nothing there. But Galvin could clearly see something I couldn't, and he quickly turned around to pay attention. I remember thinking that was odd, but I didn't question him, though I should have asked what was wrong. I just thought he was still recovering, so I turned back to the teacher, but I could still see that Galvin kept glancing at the corner sometimes. Then it would spiral down to Galvin being absolutely terrified of something. I don't know what it was, but whatever it was, Galvin was on edge all the time. He was very quiet, kept glancing all around him, and when someone approached him, he would jump a little and get angry. I had never seen him like this, so one day I confronted him on our way to our houses after school. You know, you've been kinda acting quiet lately, I said to him. Galvin was looking down at the sidewalk as I spoke. I mean, I get why, but I noticed other things too. You seem kinda nervous or something. He looked up at me, both of us staring into each other's eyes. Look, man, you don't have to tell me what's going on, but I'm worried. After Trevor's death, you seem to be in deep shit. You barely eat, talk, and when you do, you give short answers. You cursed at Cherry when she tapped you on the shoulder. She's still pissed at you for that. Galvin stared at me blankly for a moment, and then the next words he said, I can't make sense of it. I don't know if he said it due to lack of sleep or his mindset at that moment, but here's what he said. I think I see Trevor. I froze, staring at him in confusion. Trevor? Yeah, I see him everywhere. If you would have asked me what I thought in that moment, I couldn't give you a clear answer. At first, I thought he was joking, and I stared at him kind of sternly. Dude, I get that you like to joke at times, but I'm serious. Galvin interrupted, his voice a fidgeted whisper. His face looked pale, and his eyes were wide, just like the day that Trevor killed himself. I see Trevor every single day. Every time I wake up, he's there staring at me with those blank eyes. He still has blood on him. No matter how much I apologize or beg to him to tell me what I can do to earn his forgiveness, he never fucking answers me. He just stares at me. When I go to school, when I walk home, when I sleep in my bed, he's always there, taunting me. I can't take it anymore. He grabs my shoulders, gripping them tightly as I stare at him in shock as he looks on desperately, tears in his eyes. I've never seen Galvin cry. What do I do, man? How do I make him stop? Can't he see I'm sorry? What do I do? God, it's so hard to type this in. I've never seen Galvin so desperate, so miserable in my life. I didn't know what to say. What can you say to someone who sees a dead teenager everywhere? So I didn't say anything. I think Galvin knew that I had no answer for him because he let go, apologized, and walked away from me. I did think about what he said. Could it be possible? I always had a neutral take on paranormal stuff. I knew demons and angels were real due to my belief. But ghosts? I always thought those paranormal shows were tacky and fun to watch. But one of my friends just claimed to see the ghost of Trevor. Galvin got so bad that he had to be taken to a hospital. Apparently during lunch hour, Galvin broke. He was sitting alone quietly until he just started screaming out of nowhere. He fell to the ground and wouldn't stop screaming. The teachers had to restrain him before he hurt himself with the other students. He just kept saying, "He's here." I don't know if he'll get better. Cherry and the others don't know either. I haven't told anyone what Trevor told me because I don't know if I believe it or not. Maybe Galvin is hallucinating. Maybe he's suffering from some mental problems and is just seeing Trevor due to the guilt and everything that led to this. But if Galvin really did see Trevor like he said, I don't think he came back as a ghost, because when I saw the teachers taking Galvin away, I noticed 3 scratch marks on his back, like some animal attacked him. And I think if Trevor did return from beyond the grave, he didn't return as himself. I think he returned as a demon. And his target is Galvin.